This meeting of the Starkville Board of Aldermen will now come to order. Please rise for the saying of the Pledge of Allegiance, after which Alderman Vaughn would like to yield to Pastor Arender to lead us in a word of prayer, and we will observe a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let me share one passage with you. Paul said to Timothy, I urge then, first of all, that request, prayers, intercession, and thanksgiving be made for everyone, especially for kings and all those in authority, that we may live peaceful and quiet lives in all godliness and holiness. Let's pray together. Father, we come before you now asking your blessings on the elected officials of our country. Tonight, especially for those that are gathered in this room, we pray for each of them, God, wisdom and discernment, perseverance, character, and integrity, the ability to lead your people. We pray, God, that tonight all that is done here in this room would bring honor and glory to you and would be for the betterment of the people of this community. It's in your Son's name that I pray. Amen.
You have before you a copy of the written agenda. Are there any proposed changes to the agenda as written?
Mr. Mayor, may I be recognized?
You may.
Item 11I2, under personnel, at the request of Chief Yarborough, I'd like to remove item 2 from the agenda.
All right, proposed revision from Alderman Maynard is to remove item 11I2. That is a request for approval of a salary adjustment and job title change from administrative assistant to the fire chief, LaShonda Malone, to executive administrative assistant in the Starkville Fire Department. Alderman Maynard, is it your proposed revision to remove that matter from the agenda?
Yes, sir.
Any objection? Any objection? Any objection? Any objection? Saying none, that matter's been removed from the agenda. Alderman Maynard, do you have further proposed?
No, sir.
Any further proposed? Alderman Perkins.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Mayor, under personnel on page 5 of the agenda, there's a list of persons that are being recommended to fill the position of police officer. I want to remove the name of Ladarius M. Weatherall and make him a separate item, a motion after the other name, so we can just be, the next number will be request approval to hire Ladarius M. Weatherall to fill a position of police officer in the police department. I just want to vote on him separately.
All right, so the proposed revision by Alderman Perkins relates to item 11I5, the request approval to hire Darrell Scott Caldwell, Gary E. Wheeler, Charles Jordan, Quentin C. Salisbury, Ladarius M. Weatherall, and Stephen Muse to fill the vacant position of police officer. The proposed revision is to remove Ladarius Weatherall from that item, placing a request for approval to hire Ladarius Weatherall as a new item 11I6 and removing it from item 11I5. Alderman Perkins, is that your proposed revision?
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor.
Do I hear any objection? Any objection? Any objection? Any objection? Saying none, please note the change to your agenda. Alderman Perkins, do you have any further proposed revisions?
No, sir, Mr. Mayor.
Any further proposed revisions from the members of the board? Any further proposed revisions? Any further proposed revisions? Seeing none, a motion to approve the agenda as revised is in order. Do I hear a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Motion has been made by Alderman Maynard to approve the agenda as revised. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion has been seconded by Alderman Nguyen. Alderman Maynard, do you wish to speak on the merits?
No, sir.
Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Measure clearly passes. The next matter that you have before you is the consideration of the minutes from October 6th. Motion has been made by Alderman Maynard to approve of the minutes from the October 6, 2015 meeting of the Mayor and Board of Aldermen of the City of Starkville, Mississippi, incorporating any and all changes recommended by the city attorney, otherwise as presented. Alderman Maynard, is that your motion?
Yes, it is.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion has been seconded by Alderman Nguyen. Alderman Maynard, do you wish to speak on the merits?
No, sir.
Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Saying none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Measure clearly passes. Next matter on the agenda is the October 20th minutes.
Move approval.
Motion has been made by Alderman Maynard to approve the minutes from the October 20th, 2015 meeting of the Mayor and Board of Aldermen of the City of Starkville, Mississippi, incorporating any and all changes as recommended by the city attorney, otherwise as presented. Alderman Maynard, is that your motion?
Yes, it is.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion has been seconded by Alderman Nguyen. Alderman Maynard, do you wish to speak on the merits?
No, sir.
Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Saying none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Measure clearly passes. The next matter is the November 3rd minutes.
So moved.
Motion has been made by Alderman Maynard to approve the minutes of the November 3rd, 2015 meeting of the Mayor and Board of Aldermen of the City of Starkville, Mississippi, incorporating any and all changes recommended by the city attorney, otherwise as presented. Alderman Maynard, is that your motion?
Yes, it is.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion has been seconded by Alderman Nguyen. Alderman Maynard, do you wish to speak on the merits?
No, sir.
Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Saying none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Measure clearly passes. The next matter before you is announcements and comments by the mayor and members of the board. I have no comments this evening. Are there any comments by the members of the board? Alderman Nguyen.
Good evening, everyone. The first something I want to say is congratulations to our Starkville Yellow Jackets who will be traveling to Oxford on Friday. They have represented us so well. We are so proud of them. And I'm one of the aldermen that will be traveling with them. And Mayor, I won't be at the dedication ceremony, and of course I emailed that to you. So I'll be traveling with our Yellow Jackets on Friday. And I've got to say something about a person who has been so supportive of the Yellow Jackets. And she's 95 years old, you all, and she's here in our community, and everybody calls her Miss Honey. So I had to call last night around and find out what is Miss Honey's name, and come to find out her name is Miss Jessie Robinson. And every game, Miss Honey is at the game, and of course she does have a little grandson playing. And I always say that Miss Honey is their little person that they can trust on, and she is definitely their little person that they take with them and travel with. So I want to say to our Yellow Jackets, good luck on Friday. And the next something I want to say is congratulations to Miss Kashina Turnipseed. Miss Turnipseed was pinned here in this courtroom on last Tuesday, and she went from second lieutenant to major, and she's in the United States military, and I thank her for her service. And my last one is our Code Red. We have implemented the Code Red. You can now go online at www.oktibehawkcountyms.org, and that's located on our city's website, and that'll give you your emergency notifications that can be done through your telephone, or through your emails, or through social media. So I hope that everyone will take advantage of that. Mayor, I yield the floor at this time.
Any further comments by the members of the board? Alderman Perkins.
Mr. Mayor, just as a follow-up to the Alderman from Ward 2, and thank you, Alderman, for sharing me that information that I was unaware of, but just as a follow-up to that, Mr. Mayor, I am very respectfully requesting for the appropriate staff to email all of that relevant information to each one of the members of this governing body, so we can be fully informed on how to activate and implement and become a similar part of this Code Red that this board approved. We've been waiting for this for some time now. So thank you, Alderman, for that information, but hopefully this information will be emailed to the mayor and to each member of the governing body very expeditiously, so we all can be covered and we can have access to this information, and we can share this information with all of our constituents and other citizens in this community. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Any further comments by the members of the board? Any further comments? Are there any further comments? Alderman Nguyen.
I know that I will not be here in attendance on Friday for the building dedication because I'll be traveling my official role as a city official. But I just want to make sure that all of the aldermen that will be attending the game that will not be here on Friday, make sure that they're recognized, Mayor, at the dedication ceremony to our constituents, and let them know that we're traveling with the Yellow Jackets.
Absolutely.
I know I'll be out. Alderman Carver has told me, another alderman mentioned to me that this evening that he will not be here in attendance also.
Absolutely. Any further comments? Any further comments by the members of the board? Are there any further comments? All right, seeing none, we'll move to citizen comments. At this time, any citizen wishing to make comments may do so by coming forward to the podium, introducing yourself, and you'll be recognized to speak for a maximum of 3 minutes.
32 Woman Lanes Avenue, Ward 7. Like to recognize Alderman Vaughn and Vice President and Alderman Walker.
Thank you.
On the smart bus, you can see a whole lot. We would like for the people to kind of at Walmart, Kroger, and vow that when the light turns green, you don't be texting, and they have to blow the horn for you to go. That causes accidents. Also like to check the red lights on Main Street. They're getting very sensitive, and people are worried about them holding too long.
Thank you, Mr. Turner. Further citizen comments?
Mayor, Board of Aldermen, my name is Nestle Miles. I'm a resident of 1401 Greater Lane here in Starkville. And I'm concerned this afternoon, because I could be at a funeral today. My nephew was held at gunpoint. According to him, he was held on the ground.
Mr. Miles.
He was held at gunpoint.
Please address the board.
I would address the board. He was held at gunpoint. And it disturbed to me that we have police officers that would put him like that on the ground, all the way up at gunpoint. And the Miles family, the Bush family have never had a problem with the law. The law seems to have a problem with us. And I don't know what's going on over there, but we don't want to have a Ferguson here in Starkville, okay? So my concern is this: what kind of police officer do we have on the police force? We have those that just target our minority young men because they look like suspects or not. So, and I also would like to address the board that the family get permission to look at the film so we can see what happened that night of the incident in question. We supposedly have dash cam and have body cam. So the incident in question, we would like to see it, and that's the request from the family.
Thank you, Mr. Miles. Chief, I know this is a matter that you briefed me on last week. Would you like to address the concern?
Sure. The particular incident that Mr. Miles is referencing occurred at Sawtell on the last Wednesday or last Thursday. I can't remember, I think it was last Thursday, I have to look at my notes, where we had a call of a subject with a gun. 911 gave a description of black male with a black coat with a red hat. We had 6 officers to respond to that location. Out of 6 officers, we did have 1 officer to ask 2 young men to the ground, order them to the ground. I have reviewed that video. This is a personnel matter. We have addressed it, and I will address the board of this matter in executive session.
Thank you, Chief. Are there any further citizen comments? Any further citizen comments? Any further citizen comments? Seeing none, we'll move to public appearances. We have 1 public appearance scheduled tonight, and that is by Jack Wallace. Mr. Wallace. Mr. Wallace is here to present the OCEDA annual budget.
Board, Mayor, Clerk, thank you for allowing me to be on this agenda tonight. The budget we sent you totals $735,700. We have 3 sources of income. You are to approve our 2% portion of our budget, but I want you to have our total budget, know what we're doing and how we're allocating the monies that we're spending. We have 3 sources of income. One is we made a deal with Mississippi State when they built the last building, we furnished the land, and for that, we get 20% of the net revenue of that building for life. They wanted 10 years, but I sort of held out for life. But in any case, that's about $46,000 a year we anticipate. Our lease income on the building, all of which is leased except a small portion that Greg Harper was in, and one room, the rest of the building is leased. And that lease income will equate to about $300,000. And then they reimburse us for the utilities allocated to each of those tenants. And that's about $133,000. And then finally, the real good part about our budget is the 2% food and beverage. And we anticipate that we're being real conservative at $257,000. And that totals up to a zero line budget of $735,700. What we do with it, we contract, of course, to be part of the Greater Starkville Development Partnership. We also are paying 1/3 of the fee to the Link, which is $125,000. We've been supporting the roadway in Maven, helping them to finish their industrial park. We have furnished $10,000 to the city of Sturgis to help the bike rally, which is a real income producer for the entire county. And then we also maintain all the common areas, landscaping-wise, in the research park, as well as the new signs on the highway, welcome to Starkville. We maintain those from our budget. And then, of course, we maintain the Cornerstone Park. We are hoping that we'll get notified very soon by the Mississippi Department of Transportation to start the new Highway Patrol Troop G building and the first 10 acres of our Cornerstone. And then, of course, you know about DPM, and that's be coming online pretty soon, and we're working with another real good tenant. I'm not at liberty to say who at this point in time, but I think it'd be exciting for us. We still haven't been able to do anything with the about 30 acres usable and about 30 acres that'll be encapsulated in the brown spot. We've worked with the mayor some on that, trying to see if we can get some park involvement, maybe some walking trails and things that we could do, since we cannot build a building on that actual site of the burn. I'm open for questions.
Are there any questions or comments from the members of the board for Mr. Wallace? Any questions or comments for Mr. Wallace? Any questions or comments? Seeing none, thank you, Mr. Wallace, and thank you for your service.
We respectfully request approval of our budget. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Board.
Thank you.
The next matter before you is the third public hearing on the Campus Communications Group franchise agreement, and I'll introduce this matter. Prior to getting into the matter, though, I have a correction that I need to make. When this matter was first introduced more than a month ago I indicated to you that I thought most of the area Campus Communications would attempt to run their fiber optic service to, since this is billed as more of a specialty program to student housing, would be area that would be of a lower priority to our existing providers, and it would be amongst the last areas to be covered by their fiber optic service, and may in some cases not be covered at all. Shortly after making those statements, and they were covered, I had a conversation with some of the Mac South team, and they informed me that indeed these are very high priority areas for them. And Peter, with you, Rick, Tanya here, just want to say that y'all have been here for a little more than a year now, and y'all have been absolutely outstanding. You've been very, very gracious in your dealing with us, and I still marvel at the investment that you've come in and immediately made in providing services to our customers. I should choose my words more carefully, and I owe you an apology for making that statement. Now, that being said, it is my recommendation that you approve the franchise agreement, and the reason it's my recommendation is I think it's good that there's another company that wants to come in and make substantial investment in the community and provide another consumer option to our citizens. Ultimately, I think our citizens having as many options as possible for first-class broadband service is a good thing for the community. As I have said before, there are communities all over the country that are chasing fiber optic infrastructure, and I think it speaks volumes about our community that we have a company that wants to come in and add additional fiber optic opportunities for our citizens. Campus Communications Group is not a group that I know much about. I have not visited with them in person yet, but the city attorney has negotiated with their legal counsel, and they've negotiated what I believe to be fair and reasonable terms on a franchise agreement. So it is for those reasons that I recommend approval. Are there any questions or comments from the members of the board? Any questions or comments from the members of the board? Any questions or comments? All right, seeing none, we'll move to the public comment section. And before I start the public comment section, I know Max South is going to want to speak. Do we have anybody other than Max South that's interested in speaking on this issue tonight? All right, what I'm going to do you think 10 minutes is enough for your presentation? Okay, I'm going to give you 10 minutes to make your presentation, and that will be our public hearing.
First of all, thank you for letting me have the chance, and Mr. Mayor, thank you for the comments. I appreciate that. I was going to go over the same thing I went over last time. I think I'll just start that way. Again, my name is Peter Cameron. I'm the CEO of Max South Broadband. We've been the legacy broadband provider here for many, many years, or our predecessors. All right, there's no doubt we've been here for a long time. The team in Starkville has been here for lots of years. There's other people running it today. Although we obviously welcome competition, it's good. It's just good business. To the arena. We're a bit concerned about the strategic approach you're making here. That being allowing broadband companies to come in and service what they consider elite areas. We call it cherry picking, just in the areas of the city that they want to serve. We don't think it's good business. We feel the long term of this is a huge disservice to your customer and our customers and your residents, obviously. As the eventual outcome in many of your neighborhoods will be the loss of access to advanced services such as broadband services or digital services, as providers will be unable to continue to service the whole city, such as us. If our ongoing livelihood requires us to focus on the competition areas where everybody's going to be pouring it on into those elite areas, it really limits the ability for a company to service all areas, which we're required to do under franchise. Moreover, where broadband, I know I've been in this industry for over 30 years now, and where broadband providers decide to cherry pick neighborhoods within the community instead of competitive services. It's initially very competitive. It's great for the customer, but in the long run, technology changes. Think about it, you bought a car last year. Today, the technology is different. If you buy a computer, it changes. Technology changes overnight now. When you let companies come in and cherry pick, what happens is initially it starts off very well, very competitive, good pricing, good rates, good service. We're all about that. The problem is the long run you have to see. When that becomes too competitive and you're splitting that in too many ways and you're letting people cherry pick, what happens is people can't keep putting the capital back in. And years from now, maybe a couple of years, 3 or 4 years from now, when technology changes, it gets more and more difficult to keep up with that when companies can't have the wealth and capital to put into the ground, into the networks. Max House and our predecessors has always been required to service the entire community, not just cherry pick, and that's what our requirement is, and we like that. We've paid millions of dollars in franchise fees to the city, kept our commitments to the community, and more recently under Max South, we've come up with a new technical center, a new service center. We've come up with launched a regional sports channel, which covers all your local teams. And most recently, we've deployed a fiber to the home network to over 7,500 homes in just the last 7 or 8 months, offering the highest internet speeds at the best rates in the nation. It should be noted that during that same time, one of our competitors did the build as well. They've done about half as much. Again, they're cherry picking. They're picking those elite areas. Again, we welcome competition. In fact, I encourage it. It makes us better, it makes us smarter, it certainly makes us serve your residents better. I have no problem with competition, as long as it's on fair ground. However, when you let people come in and cherry pick, it will create long-term problems. It not only creates problems for us, I have to decide, our team has to decide whether we can continue to service at the levels that we service at, especially in the areas that we're the only provider. If we have to compete and you're letting people pick and just get the best. In closing, let me put it in a nutshell. We look at our franchise agreement with you as a partnership, always have. I've been in the industry for 30 plus years. I've been through many franchise negotiations, and sometimes they're tough. But the fact of the matter is, when we sign that agreement, we are your partners. We look at it as what's good for our customers, good for your residents. What you think is good in a partnership is good for us as a business. We love it. We think it's a fair way to service. But we service every single customer that way, not just the elite, not just places that somebody says, puts out a survey and says, I want the service, I don't want the service. All right, it's not fair. All right, we need an equal playing field. I ask you to consider that because I think in the long run, it's going to create a lot of problems. You're going to lose franchise fees, potential neighborhoods will go underserved or maybe not served at all. We're loyal to this partnership. I think you've been loyal. Don't turn your back on us because we have been here for many years. We've built an infrastructure, required to build that infrastructure. You asked us to do that through the franchise. As good partners, we lived up to that. Now all of a sudden you're saying, hey, come on in. Anybody can cherry pick where they want and get the good. That really puts us at a disadvantage. I think in the long run, it puts your residents at a disadvantage, a very big disadvantage, because they're going to get underserved in some areas. And in the competitive areas, years from now, there won't be enough capital funding to keep the strength. I think it's great. You're right, Mayor, Mr. Mayor. It's amazing that you've got 3 companies wanting to do this in one community of this size. That's unheard of. All right, but watch out, because initially, it's a good idea. Long term, I think it really disservices you because good people are going to be left out. When technology changes, companies like us and the 2 other competitors that we'll be looking at here will not, the atom will be split too many ways and funding becomes less and less. And then you end up with a lousy, older infrastructure when other cities that manage this better have a good competitive situation. Put us on the equal playing field. That's all I ask you. I love competition. Some people will say, well, you just want to have a monopoly here. That's not us. I think we're better because of competition. I'm glad our industry is forcing the competition because it makes us service your residents better. That's all we ask. Question?
Thank you, Mr. Caleb.
Okay. Thanks.
I have one question.
Alderman Maynard, Mr. Caleb, I
Can I
think
ask
he's
you
got
a
a question for you.
And maybe to the city attorney, in our franchise agreement, were you required to carry internet service to every customer or just cable TV to every customer?
I think initially, the franchise agreement said any type of service that is typically held on a cable system. As the industry has expanded, I think everybody looks at it that our requirements have always been to deliver whatever the pertinent broadband services are. So to us, we look at all 3 of those services being pertinent. Maybe it's also a business decision on our part too. But at the same token, I just think if we're required to build every home, every mile, this is just not a few $100,000. You're talking tens of millions of dollars here. You put us at a very big disadvantage because that's what we're maintaining today. That's what we're rebuilding today. And somebody else not asked to do that, it just makes it very difficult.
Thank you, Mr. Caleb.
I understand y'all been building out in several areas of the city.
Yes.
How far along are you in this process?
Well, we built 7,500 homes so far, which was actually done in record time. We have full intention of rolling out deployment in these other areas and completing the city. This has got us a little bit concerned because, I look at it this way, am I better putting this capital someplace else? I don't want to. We've made this commitment to build out the community. We've been servicing, not just Max South, but our predecessors, but let's face it, we bought them at a high price because of the relationship they have with you guys. We love Starkville.
So how far along in the process? 50%?
I believe on the homes passed within the city, I'm not exactly sure. I think about 64, 65%, maybe even closer to 70. The good news, all the areas that campus communications is going to, we can offer the same type services to those those complexes.
That was my next question. Do you plan on servicing those areas?
Oh, yeah,
that-
our whole goal is to offer these services everywhere. The good news, you know, if they're looking at what we call bulking, those student complexes, you know, we
They're
can do that
outside
today.
the city?
We do that today. Our network passes all those areas today.
Mr. City Attorney, tacking on to Alderman Maynard's question, do you feel like in your interpretation of the contract or agreement that they are required to build out fiber also in addition to cable?
I would support Mr. Kalen's interpretation. The original franchise agreement with Northland Cable that was entered into back in 2006 spoke in the terms of cable, and back then, really the only thing people were contemplating was video cable. But as you've seen this morph over time, the law governs anything that can go in that cable, which now is fiber. So I think that definition has expanded by practicality over time. So I would agree with the interpretation.
Good business sense on our part, but the truth is, had we not done that, you'd have been all over us saying, hey, you're not living up to the spirit of this partnership. And the partnership is, when you need it, we need to be there to deliver it. But you can't turn your back on that partnership as well. That's all I'm asking.
Thank you.
Alderman Nguyen.
Mr. Kalen, a couple of weeks ago, you sent us an email, and I want to say I acknowledge receiving that email, and I thank you so much, and it was very meaningful.
Okay, great, thank
I
you.
yield the floor at this time.
All right, thank you for the time.
Thank you, Mr. Kaler. Any further questions or comments from the members of the board? Any further questions or comments from the members of the board? Any further questions or comments? All right, seeing none. The next matter on the agenda is the consideration of the OCEDA budget.
Move approval.
Motion has been made by Alderman Little to approve of the 2016 OCEDA fiscal year budget as presented. Alderman Little, is that your motion?
It is.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion has been seconded by Alderman Nguyen. Alderman Little, do you wish to speak on the merits?
No, sir.
Discussion. Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Measure clearly passes. The next matter on the agenda is the discussion and consideration of the cable franchise ordinance. Or not the cable franchise, the campus communications franchise ordinance. Discussion. Alderman Walker.
I think, again, I appreciate y'all have been with us for a long time. I think it is a good partnership and one that we would hope to be able to keep in the future. My question is really more to the city attorney. As we talk about this idea of cherry picking, looking through the negotiations and what the contract says, what is the definition, or how is the current group looking to isolate those areas? How would you define that as cherry picking in the city? Are they only looking at specific areas, or is it that detailed?
Let me get the boundaries of those areas. Hang on just a second. These are the areas that are defined in Exhibit A to the Campus Communications Group franchise agreement, the one proposed tonight. New Light Road to Veterans Memorial Drive, Veterans Memorial Drive to Industrial Park Road, Industrial Park Road to Lynn Lane, Lynn Lane to South Montgomery Street, South Montgomery Street to Loxley Way, Loxley Way to Blackjack Road, Blackjack Road to Campus View Drive, and Campus View Drive to Campus Trails. So those are the areas of the city that CCG intends to build out. Max South's argument, really the sole argument that I understand, is that in the Northland Cable franchise agreement, there is a citywide build-out requirement. And they would like any other entrant in the marketplace to adhere to the build-out requirement. If you look at all of the law on franchise agreements, and this is my franchise agreement law folder that I've compiled over the years as entities have come into town wanting to enter into franchises with the city, all of the law tips in favor of competition. Section 253 of the Communications Act, the Federal Communications Act of 1934, prohibits barriers to local competition and permits franchises to come into town in a competitively neutral manner and in rough parity to those granted to other carriers. 47 U.S.C. 541 says a franchising authority may not unreasonably refuse to award an additional competitive franchise. Two other relevant provisions. 47 U.S.C. 543 says there is a preference for competition. and 47 USC 548 says the purpose of this section is to promote the public interest, convenience, and necessity by increasing competition and diversity to spur the development of communication technologies. Now, the argument that MaxSouth is making was made in front of the Federal Communications Commission in 2006 and 2007. The FCC held multiple hearings on these issues because this was an extreme issue. People were arguing two things like MaxSouth. They were arguing, number one, that other entrants into the market should be held to build-out requirements, and number two, that they should get the benefit of what's called less restrictive provisions, meaning that if another entrant came into the market, that MaxSouth should have the same benefits as those terms, or those terms shouldn't be any better than MaxSouth's terms. The FCC struck down both of those arguments in these hearings, and they issued an order that is numbered FCC 06180 that says that build-out requirements stifle competition and therefore violate public policy, and level playing field provisions stifle competition and therefore violate public policy. So there's no legal impediment for the board to consider this franchise agreement tonight. The issue the board has to make is this the right business decision for the city? Is this the right public policy consideration for the city? What are the business ramifications of CCG entering the marketplace when MaxSouth renegotiates its franchise agreement in February of 2016? And is, if CCG comes in, this still a competitively neutral environment?
So I think you touched on that. So MaxSouth is eligible to renegotiate their franchise agreement in 17 or 16?
No, it expires on February 7th of 2016, so the negotiation will be very quick.
So from how I interpret what you just said is that the rough parity piece, even though they're not required to build out the city, it meets the rough parity position.
So says the Federal Communications Commission.
Thank you.
Further discussion? Any further discussion? Any further discussion? All right, we have no motion pending. If there's no further discussion, then we'll move to the next matter. Seeing no further discussion,
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to table this item.
all right, the motion has been made by Alderman Maynard to table the discussion and consideration of an ordinance of the city of Starkville, Mississippi, granting a non-exclusive franchise to Campus Communications Group Incorporated to lay, construct, maintain, replace, repair, and operate fiber optic cable and appurtenant telecommunications facilities under, over, and across and along all streets, avenues, alleys, highways, roads, bridges, viaducts, and public places in the city of Starkville, Mississippi. Alderman Maynard, is that your motion?
Yes, sir.
Do I hear a second?
Second?
Motion has been seconded by Alderman Vaughn. The motion is not debatable. All those in favor of Alderman Maynard's motion, please signify by raising your hand. It's unanimous. That matter's been tabled. The next matter on the agenda is the discussion and consideration of initiating architectural services by Gary Schaefer through the bid phase of the police renovation project at a cost not to exceed $245,000. You want to lead off?
Yes, sir. Mr. Mayor, in consultation with you, I request for this matter to be placed on the agenda. And as my colleagues are aware that this board has already taken action giving its intent to issue up to $3 million in bonds to renovate the old city hall, which is now the police department, and the plan was and still is to move forward with that renovation in April of thereabout, or sometime during the spring of 2016. So what this measure will do before us tonight, it will allow this mayor and board to get an early start on the project, whereby if this board deems to approve this matter before us now, it will allow the architecture, Mr. Gary Schaefer, to begin with the architectural services and work for the design of the police department. And further, this proposed motion will also request for this honorable board to allow Mr. Schaefer to be paid a cost not to exceed $245,000. And that cost, if this motion is passed, will come from the ending fund balance at this time. But once the bond proceeds are issued, according to the city's financial advisor, the city will be reimbursed the $245,000 from the bond proceeds. So the bottom line on this, this will just allow the architecture to begin now as opposed to April. And the police department is in dire need of moving forward, getting to its new building. And with this design, we are hoping to get this matter moving forward and completed as expeditiously as possible. And we're hoping that we will have this building completed, lock and key, prior to the expiration of this term. This term expires at midnight, the first Monday in July of 2017. So we're very ambitious about this, and we are of the opinion that the public wants us to move forward with this. The public has, throughout the years, has given us a mandate that they want to see the police department in a building that is at a very reasonable and conservative cost, and that the building is in a very premier location downtown. And we feel very confidently that we have satisfied the public's concern with this. And we think that this is just a very good measure. This is no new money we're talking about. It's just advancing the architectural services much sooner than planned. And this is very good for everybody. So, Mr. Mayor, I have a written motion here, and I'm going to move that Schaefer and Associates PLLC is authorized to initiate architectural services through the bid phase of the project at a cost not to exceed $245,000. That the fee shall be paid from the ending fund budget line item and reimbursed from bond proceeds once bonds are issued for the project at a later date, and the terms of the original contract as amended by the first contract amendment and second contract amendment shall remain in full force and effect. And that is reduced to writing, and that basically covers what I just articulated, Mr. Mayor.
And the motion is to adopt the resolution that you have presented to the city clerk?
Yes, sir.
And resolution
Yes,
in
sir.
your packet. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion has been seconded by Alderman Little. Alderman Perkins, you wish to speak on the merits?
No, sir, Mr. Mayor.
Further discussion? Alderman Walker.
I just have a couple questions. This might be related to the budget chair. I think this, I'm certainly supportive of the idea of going ahead and getting architectural services started. That'll give us a jump start on the actual beginning of reconstruction or renovation of the existing building for the new police department. My question is this going to be $245,000 lump sum? How is that contract going to be worded from Gary Schaefer? Architectural services, is that going to be, are we going to be billed on a monthly basis? How is that contract going to work? And so we don't have that hit all at once to the general fund balance. And as the budget chair, is there anything that we would like to add to that? How long are we talking about? Are we talking about by the end of this fiscal year having those bonds potentially released and having that money back in the ending fund balance, or are we talking about carrying over to the next fiscal year? And do we have the money in the ending fund balance to get us to the next fiscal year to make sure that we are okay?
Alderman Maynard, Alderman Walker has asked you a series of questions. Do you wish to yield to those questions?
He has asked a series of questions. I will yield to the mayor or the city attorney on the contract of how the payments go out first. I think that was your first question. You have that down.
I don't have that down, other than I anticipate that he is going to bill the city incrementally. I'll have to check.
Yeah, I can tell you as a practical matter, we will get billed as he works. So there won't be even installment payments, but they will be periodic bills rather than a lump sum of $245,000. And that's a maximum figure. Now, the other questions as it relates to our ending fund balance, yes, our ending fund balance is in a stable position. I do not anticipate that our cash position would become threatened to the point where we actually would have trouble making payments. What were the other questions?
The other question regarding the bond proceeds would depend solely upon this board and when that resolution was introduced and then passed.
And that we're really, from my standpoint, we're waiting on two events to issue those bonds. The first event we're about to get word on, and that was the application we put in for the Heritage Grant Program through Archives and History. We should know before the end of the year whether we got that grant. And then I would like to make a request in the legislative session. It probably is a bit of a long shot for a legislative appropriation. One of the main reasons I'd like to make a request is this tracks very similarly to the Columbus City Hall renovation program. They received a heritage grant, and then they also received a legislative appropriation on top of that. So I think it's worthwhile to make that request. Now, the legislative session doesn't end until April. We may know before then whether it's going to happen or not, but where I think it's prudent to wait on those two events is until those two variables are known, it's really not possible to know how much the bond issuance should be for the program. The reason I think this is a good idea is design is a 4 to 6 month process, and if we wait 4 months for the legislative session to end and then have to wait another 4 to 6 months after that, we're all the way into 2017 before we're building anything. I'd like to be in a position when we're ready to issue the bonds, we can start building something.
Thank you. So from a legal standpoint, city attorney, is how are those bond proceeds being reimbursed back to the general fund? Is that standard operating procedure?
We vetted that through the financial advisor, Demery Grubbs, and our bond counsel, Randy Wall, and they signed off on the process. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
All right, now I have a point of order that's been raised by the city attorney, and that is the resolution was not in your packet. That means the resolution needs to be read into the record. So for the sake of clarity and for the record, the city attorney will now read the resolution that you're considering in full.
And board, just to clarify why it's a resolution and not a simple board order, the city engaged in a contract with Gary Schaefer in 2004. That contract has been amended twice, and I thought we just needed to spell all that out to eliminate any doubt about the city's authority to issue this directive tonight. This is 2 pages, so it's not going to be that long. Just bear with me. Titled, "A Resolution of the City of Starkville, Mississippi, authorizing the commencement of architectural services by Schaefer and Associates PLLC through the bid phase of the police station renovation project at a cost not to exceed $245,000. Whereas Starkville's Mayor and Board of Aldermen, the Mayor and Board, find as follows. On or about January 6th of 2004, the city entered into a contract with Schaefer and Associates PLLC for architectural services relating to the construction of a police station. On or about September 21, 2010, the city entered into a first contract amendment with Schaefer, which among other things stated that the budget for the project shall be established pursuant to a feasibility study and that the architect's compensation shall be computed according to the fee schedule set out by the Mississippi Bureau of Building, Grounds, and Real Property Management. On or about October 21, 2014, the city entered into a second contract amendment with Schaefer, which among other things clarified that the architectural services were to be provided for a police headquarters at a site to be designated by the city. The site designated is the old City Hall building located at 101 East Lampkin Street, which is to be renovated for the Starkville Police Department for its exclusive use. Now therefore, the city, through the mayor and board, hereby resolves that Schaefer and Associates PLLC is authorized to initiate architectural services through the bid phase of the project at a cost not to exceed $245,000. The fee shall be paid from the ending fund budget line item and reimbursed from bond proceeds once bonds are issued for the project at a later date. The terms of the original contract, as amended by the first contract amendment and second contract amendment, remain in full force and effect. And that's it. Thank you.
Alderman Perkins, is that the resolution that you moved approval of?
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor. Yes, sir.
Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Measure clearly passes. Next, we have a report by Mr. Sanders on the Family Dollar project.
Mayor, Vice Mayor.
Yes, sir.
Board of Aldermen. Since I last met with you at the last Board of Aldermen meeting, I emailed Mr. Brett Johnson, who is the contractor for the Family Dollar project, asking him to cut the grass at Martin Luther King and Jackson Street by Monday, November the 30th. As of yesterday, that has not taken place. I spoke with Mr. Atkinson this morning regarding the project, and he said that he had been trying to get in contact with his ground contractor. I told him that by week's end, weather permitting, the city would have the grass cut if him or his client did not do so.
Mr. Sanders, you said, you told him about the week's end, he had to have the grass cut?
That by week's end, the grass would be cut either by the city or by Mr. Atkinson, but the grass will be cut this week, weather permitting.
Well, we discussed this back on November the 17th of 2015, and I want to appreciate what you're doing, and I just want to add on to the comments I gave the last meeting. I don't know why it's taking so long. There's plenty of lawn equipment in this city that'll work. And, for some reason, they don't think we're serious. I mean, this is a serious matter, and this matter needs to be taken care of, and I don't know why all of a sudden, we're gonna wait till the weather gets real inclement, and it appears to me if there had been put some pressure on him, Mr. Sanders, that they would have gotten here before now. Now, I was informed earlier, maybe through you or your staff, that that we were going to give them until Monday, November the 30th.
That's correct.
Of 2015. Now the deadline is pushed to the end of this week. Then when I come back here on the 15th, they're going to tell me July the 4th of next year. So, I mean, this is a serious matter. I mean, I'm not trying to get on you, but I work for the taxpayers.
Yes, sir.
And they expect me to give them a full day's work every day. And you know what happens if I don't get a full day's work? They'll fire me and send me to the house. But the good thing about it, they're not going to fire me because I'm going to get my job done.
Yes, sir.
And there's a lot of weed eaters around this town. There are a lot of lawn mowers that work. There are a lot of swing blades that work. They need to get in here and get this grass cut. This is on a very major intersection. I'm tired of talking about it. Maybe if this the weather's not going to get any better. We appreciate Family Dollar of being here. We appreciate their desire to relocate. We are a pro-business community, but I mean, we can't keep talking about the same thing, begging people to do something. We have rules and regulations. I mean, we have ordinances. They need to be told, look, the board has spoken. We are the voice of the city. As an agent of the city, I mean, we directed you, the board, at the last meeting through our comments, that we want them to be informed that this got to get cut. I don't care whether this is located in Wards 1, Ward 2, Ward 3, Ward 4, 5, 6, and 7. And so the weather is probably not going to get any better, Mr. Sanders. So hopefully, at the next meeting, I want this continue to stay on this agenda, and somebody is not taking this serious.
Yes, sir.
And but one thing I want to add is I only have one vote at this table. And I want to see some movement on this matter.
Yes, sir.
And if and the staff just gonna have to let the hammer down. Just like the board. I mean, we're for real about this, and I am. And so hopefully we can get this done. In the morning, hopefully they'll at least you'll be able to share what you're hearing tonight, because we talked about this on November 17th. And I was told that they'll have all this done by November the 30th. And now we're talking about the week's end. then it's gonna be the next weekend, it's gonna be Christmas, it's gonna be next year, you know, and this has been like this for the whole year, you know, something gotta happen.
Yes, sir. The city's grass maintenance contractor is scheduled to do the work by week's end if the weather permits.
Okay, Mr. Sanders, I'm a very respectful request, another agenda item every meeting until this matter's done, and I'm gonna keep talking about this,
Yes, sir.
okay? And if it's not done at the next meeting, I want a very full, detailed explanation as to every single act and action that was communicated and done to get to this. And so this, the big picture of this is not about Ward 6, it's about the city, because next time it may be Ward 3, maybe Ward 2, and maybe Ward 4. So we appreciate you, but you know, we're a very clean city when we do everything we can to keep our city looking beautiful. But thank you for your efforts, your contribution, but we want to get this matter done. Mr. Mayor, I yield the floor.
Understood.
Thank you, Mr. Sanders. The next matter on the agenda is a request for authorization to approve the installation of the 5-foot wide pedestrian stripe lane on E.L. Jones Street from Greensboro Street to West Main Street. Motion has been made by Alderman Vaughn to approve of the installation of a 5-foot wide pedestrian stripe lane on E.L. Jones Street from Greensboro Street to West Main Street, and approval of centerline striping of E.L. Jones Street to West Main Street to highway excuse me, I got tangled up. Striping of E.L. Jones Street from West Main Street to Highway 182 with funding from Ward 7, discretionary funds as presented. Alderman Vaughn, is that your motion?
Yes, sir.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion has been seconded by Alderman Walker. Alderman Vaughn, do you wish to speak on the matter?
Yes, sir. Mr. Kemp, could you explain what this separation gonna be from the street, please, sir?
Yes, sir.
Good
Good
evening.
evening, Mayor Board. Alderman Vaughn, probably about a month and a half ago, asked me to go out and explore some alternatives for a safe pedestrian connection from an existing sidewalk at the intersection of West Main and Jones Street, and to somehow come up with a solution to get pedestrians safely from that intersection across to Greensboro Street. It's a primary route that pedestrians use, particularly school children, as they're going to the Greensboro Center, Starkville High School, or Armstrong, and again back in the afternoon. So we came up with a couple of options. This was the one that Alderman Vaughn ultimately selected, and essentially it will be very similar to what Alderman Vice Mayor Perkins has on Hospital Road in front of his residence. There is a striped lane on the edge of the roadway. It is 5 feet wide. It will be marked with a pedestrian symbol, and it will also have vertical delineators spaced along the roadway, since that roadway is not nearly as wide as Hospital Road is. I do feel like it is a much safer alternative than what currently exists now. We have also, I should also mention that the mayor and Alderman Vaughn asked me before we even started studying this was to go out and do a survey to see exactly how wide the right-of-way is in that area, and it actually condenses down to 20 feet in some places. So with those type of constraints and with the roadway currently the way it is, with some of the other things there such as fences and other improvements, utility lines, we felt like this was the best solution given the budgetary constraints as well as the physical constraints.
Thank you.
Further discussion? Thank you, Mr. Kemp. Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Measure clearly passes. The next matter on the agenda is a report from Emma Gandy concerning the proposed 2016 holiday schedule as it relates to garbage trash collection. Ms. Gandy.
Good evening, Mayor and Board, Vice Mayor. On the last meeting, November 17th, you asked me to come back with a proposal concerning, recommendations concerning the current holiday schedule as proposed by personnel for the 2016 fiscal year. What you have in front of you that was placed in your packet were 4 proposals. Currently, as you know, we observe the schedule that is approved by the board. meaning that we are off on those slated holidays. And we pick up business on the next business day with no going back to that previous day for collection. On the 2016 proposed holiday schedule, there are 7 Mondays. Apparently, there had been some concerns about the number of Mondays that we were taking off. Based on our schedule, we pick up services for Monday and Thursday. That's one schedule, and the second schedule is on Tuesday and Friday. With the number of holidays, with the holiday schedule as proposed, there were seven Mondays. There was 1 Thursday and 4 Fridays. So on the Monday and Thursday schedule, there were actually 8 days that we were not collecting based on this proposed schedule. After contacting Golden Triangle Regional Authority to see exactly which days they were going to be closed, they informed me that they are closed New Year, 4th of July, Thanksgiving, and Christmas. On your proposal, in proposal number 1, those days were stricken off. And I did have a PowerPoint. I was not aware that Mr. Clemens would not be here due to family reasons, but I did have a PowerPoint. It's pretty much what you have in front of you. But on proposal number 1, I took the liberty of striking through those days since we have no control over their closure, their landfill. I removed those days from the proposal. The first proposal is really trying to even up the number of days on one schedule versus the other schedule. When you look at the Monday and Thursday, and then the Tuesday and Friday, trying to even up those days so that we're off just the equal number of days on one as we are on the other. By striking out the days from the regional landfill, New Year, 4th of July, Thanksgiving, and Christmas, that gives us equal days on both sides. By taking it further and removing Martin Luther King Day and Good Friday, that gives us 6 closing days on our Monday and Thursday route. That gives us 6 closing days on our Tuesday and Friday. So that is still equal. And in order to even up those last 4 Mondays, the proposal would be to alternate, to take 2 of those Mondays, and we work those Mondays, but we take off in observance of those days on a Friday. There were 4 Mondays left. You had President's Day, Memorial Day, Labor Day, and Columbus Day. So of those 4 days left, to even it up, we would work on President's Day and take off in observance of President's Day on Friday. We would take off Memorial Day Monday as presented. We would take off Labor Day as presented in the schedule. And we would work Columbus Day and take off Friday in observance of Columbus Day. So that was the proposal for the first proposal. That would even up the number of days where we are off the same amount of days on one schedule as we would be off on the other schedule. In proposal number 2 was to shift everything and to collect on Tuesday. And what I did on proposal number 2, I left, I only dealt with these 4 Mondays that where the schedule could not be even out. So that's why on proposal number 2, you only see those 4 holidays. With the closing from the regional and balancing the days out to where we're off 6 days here and off 6 days here, it left an additional 4 Mondays on our original schedule that we would be required to work according to the proposed schedule. So I took those 4 Mondays on proposal number 2, which is President's Day, Memorial Day, Labor Day, and Columbus Day. And proposal number 2 says that we would take off Monday as recommended by schedule, and we would come in on Tuesday, and we would collect Monday's trash and Tuesday's trash on that Tuesday, the Tuesday following the closing for the holidays. Now,
Can I ask a question? Would there be an issue with taking that scenario and doing it for every Monday closing? Where we just pick up everybody's trash on the Tuesday?
what would happen on that, and that's why I have in here, that will require us, in order to pick up everything on Tuesday. Monday and Tuesday is our heaviest day regardless of whether it's a holiday or not, because we're coming off of a weekend. And when you're coming off of a weekend, each residence has not had on those schedules, on the Monday and Thursday and on the Tuesday and Friday, those residents have not had garbage collected at their house in 3 days. Because the Thursday group has not had garbage collected since Thursday. So they haven't had it collected Friday, Saturday, and then we come in, or Sunday, and we come in Monday, so that's 3 days. The Friday group has not had their garbage collected Saturday, Sunday, or Monday, then we come in on Tuesday. Well, if we try to do this throughout, what will happen is that in order for us to achieve this, picking up everything on a Thursday, we're basically gonna have to not function the other divisions in the department with the exception to landfill. Because what we will have to do, we will have to take every truck that we have available, landscaping, the truck that's used for the city route that picks up downtown, the truck they use to pick up the elders. We will have to take those trucks and go out and start collecting and have those trucks to meet back up with the garbage trucks in order to, because we don't have extra garbage trucks. We have one that we could probably use, but we will have to shut down the other divisions in the department to meet those garbage trucks to bring that trash back. Now, it can be done, but that's what we're gonna have to do on those days. So that was proposal number 2, to collect the Monday's garbage from Monday's closing on Tuesday with the regular trash. Proposal number 3, again using these same 4 Mondays, would be to shift the schedule. We close Monday in observance of those holidays. We come back in on Tuesday, we pick up Monday's garbage. We come in on Wednesday, we pick up Tuesday's garbage. What we will have is the same thing that we've had on the previous schedule, is that we'll have to take landscaping, the group from rubbish, and the city route, the other divisions, to collect recycling, because Wednesday is our recycling day, and we'll still have to get that too. So it will follow basically the same scenario as schedule number 2. It can be done, but that's what it'll take in order to get it done. And that is to use the remainder of the department to collect recycling while they're collecting regular household garbage on Wednesday.
Haven't we done that in the past, though?
I'm sorry?
Haven't we done that in the past?
According to Mr. Ware, they have tried both of those. The thing that has changed now is that we have recycling every Wednesday, and we have recycling for everybody every Wednesday. On our current recycling, our previous schedule of recycling, when we're picking up twice a month, our trucks normally get back in about 4 hours from the first route. Now that we're picking up everybody, it's pretty much a full day for recycling. On the previous schedule, we went out, we collected recycling, we came back in and we started litter control. Now, because we're picking up everybody every Wednesday, we're now scrambling for time for litter control. So to do this would require the other divisions to come in and to assist with recycling. And the fourth and final proposal is just to simply come in on those off days and work, those holidays and work. It removes all of the various parts of our citizens learning new schedules. It's less confusing for the city. Now, make no doubt, if whatever the board say that we do, we would definitely do that. But as of a matter of convenience for our residents, it is the least of the complex of the proposals. Because it's simply, we come in, we work with board authorization. As soon as we finish collecting, then we leave. It does have a budgetary impact because it will be time and a half or double time, whatever, depending on the holiday. Yes,
So on proposal 4, you're saying y'all will be working Memorial Day?
yes, sir. With the exception to Labor Day. I did strike through Labor Day. It's Labor Day.
Am I hearing you right, though, that you could, it would be tough, but if you pull everyone in, you could get everyone on Tuesday?
We could.
Okay.
We could,
I know that the dates are gonna change yearly, but there's about 5 Mondays that don't change every year.
right.
Those other days are the Fridays and Thursdays, you know, those are Christmas moves every year, Easter, and, you know, Good Friday's gonna be Good Friday, but,
The other thing, and I'm sorry.
so if we could do that, I don't want to begrudge anybody taking off a vacation day because everyone's entitled to and earn those vacations. I hate to see anyone working Memorial Day on a 3-day weekend. I would hate to see somebody having to come in on the weekends, honestly, because, you know, or somebody wants to travel or got family in and just, you know, everyone's got lives outside of their employment too, so. But also, if it's doable, I would be open to maybe picking up on the extra and working extra on the Tuesday and doubling up. And if they were to get overtime or, you know, get into that, we could address that. But I'd kind of like to see that possible.
Well, whatever decision the boards make, we will do our very best to adhere to that schedule, whatever changes there are. The only concern that I had about Tuesday on a double pickup, we would bring additional staff in, would be those hot months. I'm not sure a lot of you are aware that we have a lot of employees that suffered heat complications during the summer. That would be my only concern, and more than likely, the closer we get into next year, I'll be coming before the board to at least request that we start our route a little bit early during as time, you know, the time changes and the summer months come in. But whatever the board decide, you know, we would definitely make every effort to adhere to that schedule.
Discussion, questions, or comments from Ms. Gandy? Alderman Perkins.
Ms. Gandy, 2 questions. One is related to this, and the other one has some relationship. Tell the board, as department head, what is your recommendation, if any, in the event that the board wants some relief for garbage pickup? Let's just say for this Christmas, okay? The city is already closed on approved holidays of December 24 and Christmas Day 25. And of course, you'll pick up that Monday on the Monday and Thursday route, and Tuesday for the Tuesday and Friday route. What recommendation, if any, would you propose as to how that should be handled, if that is the will of the board? What would be your recommendation as to how you would handle that Thursday and Friday route, being the 24th and the 25th of December 2015?
As far as working that day, I'm working.
Very precisely.
Okay.
We have 2 garbage picks up every week.
That's right.
Tuesday and Friday,
Right.
Monday and Thursday. The week of Christmas, you only have 1 day for the Monday and Thursday route. You pick up that Monday. Tuesday and Friday, you pick up that Tuesday. My question is, since the city will be closed on that Thursday, December 24, 2015, and Friday, December 25, 2015, what recommendation, if any, you would have to this board, if the board wants to have the garbage picked up for those, 2 days? What recommendation do you have?
Vice Mayor, other than coming in and working, I don't know any other way that we could do it, because for the simple reason is that on Saturday, the landfill that we dispose of will be closed.
Good point. Let's camp out for that just a minute. Are you 100% certain? Are you 100% certain that
That
the
they'll be
land?
closed?
Listen to my question.
Okay.
Listen, it was a very friendly question. I got 2 questions on that. This is all friendly. We're trying to get something.
Okay.
Are you 100% certain that the landfill will be closed on Saturday, December 26, 2015?
I am not 100% certain that they will be closed.
Okay,
That would be something that
we
I
want you to explore that, okay? Now, so, what about and I'm just asking, not the department head, but what would be your comment about the staff picking up garbage that Saturday? Now, in answer to that question, let me ask this question before you answer that one. Now, your commercial trucks pick up on Saturdays.
Right.
landfill closed on Saturday, Golden Triangle landfill.
Right.
That truck parked down there at the city barn full of garbage on Saturday, waiting to carry out on Monday morning. True or false?
The truck is parked, but the truck is not full.
But it has
But
garbage.
the truck is parked.
With garbage on it.
It does have garbage on it.
Right now. So what is the feasibility? I'm just asking you
Okay.
this information. What's the feasibility? And the board may not want to do this. I'm only asking the question. I'm not pushing this issue. I'm just asking. And they may not decide. I'm not gonna make a motion on it. But what if the board wanted to have garbage pickup for that Saturday, the 26th of December, to pick up that Monday route and that Thursday route, being up that Thursday and Friday? Give me a response to that, if that was the thought process.
Well, Vice Mayor, of course, whatever the board say, that's exactly what we would do. As far as picking up on the commercial truck does not on a Saturday. They do pick up, but remember, we have about 200 customers on our commercial route, and not all 200 customers are collected on Saturday. Our commercial truck pick up based on request and based on what restaurants want to pay for. Not every restaurant wants collection on Saturday, so we have that flexibility with those commercial trucks. The other thing with the commercial truck is that because they are not full, they can come in at 3 o'clock in the morning and proceed on their Monday route to collect garbage and then go to the landfill.
You're not responsive to my question. I'm saying is, what would be your recommendation, if any, to pick up the residential garbage on that Saturday for that Thursday missed route on Christmas week and Friday missed route on Christmas week? What is your recommendation, if any, or what are your thoughts or comments?
Again, Vice Mayor, the only thing that I can say, if the board instructs us to come in on Saturday and pick it up, we will. The only thing that will concern me is that come Monday, we're sitting there with, and that is if we have, when we bring those trucks back full, when they come in at 7, they're gonna have, the landfill at 45 doesn't open until 7. So when they come in at 7, they're gonna have to go there and sit, get in line, empty those trucks, and then come back and get started on their Monday route. Now that, again, remember, Monday is our business route, and Tuesday is our business route. That is gonna put us behind on Monday. But whatever the board say, if that's something the board want us to do, then that's what we'll do.
Let me,
Yes, sir, go ahead, Ms. Mayor.
You yield.
Yeah, I yield.
yeah, I'll just offer my opinion on that. I don't think on Christmas weekend that we should call in all of our sanitation workers and put them through a very, very busy day. Picking up the entire city the day after Christmas would be a very long, taxing day. And I understand, I go through it every year. There's lots of Christmas paper, and it's a difficult experience. I might be alone in saying this, but I am okay dealing with the Christmas paper for a couple of extra days if the choice is pulling all of our sanitation workers in from away from their family over probably the most celebrated holiday weekend of the year. But that's my thought.
Yes, ma'am, may I be recognized?
You may.
Okay, Ms. Gann, let me ask you one other quick question. I'm going to yield once I ask this question. This is not completely related to it, but it's indirectly related to it. I've gotten a number of calls, and I'm going to be very brief because we're talking about garbage pickup, but I'm going to be very brief. You give me a short answer, very succinct. I've gotten a lot of calls about the garbage bags, and they were to be available, I think, by December 1. Is that correct? Yes or no?
I would have to look, I don't know, I can't recall as to exactly when the 30 days were. But the bidder stated a delivery date of 30 days.
Okay.
Now, I'm gonna, just off the top of my head, and I can't be for certain, Vice Mayor, I'm gonna say it was closer towards the middle of the month, but I'm not for sure. He did say that he would try to get them in as they loaded the trucks.
Very, very, very shortly. And very brief here. Do you have a response as to whether they're gonna be on time, or they're still gonna get here early? You had some expectation to make it here a little early.
I have some expectation they're gonna get here early. I have not contacted him, this week, within the last couple of days. I have not. I can contact him and see, if at all possible that we are still shooting for, various deliveries. Normally, like I stated last time, we wait until the complete order is full and they ship. But he thinks that he will be able to ship them as the trucks are loaded. So as of right now, I have not communicated with him to see if we are still on schedule for multiple deliveries.
My last respectful request, Ms. Gann, thank you for all that thorough information. On December the 15th, if we don't have the bags at our next meeting, because these people just call, want these bags, would you give us a report and have us some detailed information at the next meeting if they're not in by then?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Mayor, I yield the floor.
Further discussion? Alderman Little, you had,
I'm good.
any further discussion? Alderman Mayor.
Ms. Gandy, when I originally brought this up, it was because my ward's in a Monday ward. As a Monday ward with 7 Mondays, there was quite a few people calling saying, what can we do? If I'm hearing you correctly, you're saying we could, on any off Monday, double up and collect on Tuesdays. That would not change the holiday schedule for anybody. That would just require us to communicate clearly to our constituents that have Monday pickup that on these holidays, put your garbage out 1 day later. Hopefully they won't put it out on Monday and leave it there for the dogs to get. They would do that. Did I hear you correctly that we could do that?
Yes, sir, we could, like I stated, all of the proposals are doable. A lot of them requires more moving parts than the other. But we could, so long as the board, with all due respect, realize that there are divisions within the sanitation department that would be doing their regular duties on those days.
With that, Mr. Maker, I'd make a motion that from this point going forward, every Monday holiday that the city observes, that garbage for that Monday pickup be collected on the following Tuesday, on the next day on the Tuesday.
Alderman Maynard has made a motion to make it the operational policy of the city that garbage collection, when a holiday falls on a Monday, shall be picked up on Tuesday, provided that Tuesday is not also a holiday. Alderman Maynard, is that your motion?
Yes, sir.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion has been seconded by Alderman Little. Alderman Maynard, you wish to speak on the merits?
No, sir.
Further discussion, Alderman Vaughn.
We gonna approve the overtime?
Well, it'll be consistent with our, well, will they have to work extra hours on Tuesday? If they work the time, they're going to get paid, yeah.
All right, that's all.
Yeah, there's, do you anticipate overtime?
It may be possible. What I would like to ask the board while I'm standing here is that we do this on a trial basis, and if I'm asking because I'm sure that those residents on Tuesday and Thursday, on some of the other holidays, will more than likely start calling, because we're looking at the Mondays and
Alderman Little.
Like I mentioned earlier, I think it's the consistency of those 5 days every Monday. The other ones float each year, so it's not always on Thursday, Friday, it's on Saturday and Sunday also. So it's and I've got some of those same calls because I'm also in Monday, Thursday ward and with their concerns. I think it's more on those obscure holidays like Columbus Day. People put their trash out. They don't know where the trash is not running and they're getting upset, and I guess they're seeing more times than not, so.
Alderman Nguyen.
Ms. Gandy, this is my question. when they pick up trash, if this is approved on that Tuesday, are they gonna be able to pick up trash within their normal 8-hour schedule?
It may require us to stay over additional. That's why I was asking that I be able to report back on how this process is operating, because what we're facing when we do that, the landfill that we dispose of closes at 4 o'clock. So we're pushing for time, and but we will make every attempt to make this work. But I would ask that if at some point in time I'd be allowed to come back to give the board an update on how this proposal is going.
I yield.
Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Saying none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Motion clearly passes. Thank you, Ms. Gandy.
Ms. Gandy, I think the next Monday holiday is Martin Luther King Day, so the next meeting after that, report back to us.
The next matter on the agenda is the consideration of the approval of the 2016 holiday schedule.
Approval.
Motion has been made by, was that Walker or Little? Motion has been made by Alderman Little to approve of the 2016 holiday schedule for the city of Starkville as presented. Alderman Little, is that your motion?
It is.
Do I hear a second? Do I hear? Motion has been seconded by Alderman Walker. Alderman Little, do you wish to speak on the merits?
No, sir.
Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Measure clearly passes. Next matter on the agenda is a discussion and consideration of the VA 15-05. You wish to hear an introduction by Mr. Sanders? All right, Mr. Sanders, proceed.
Variance request 15-05 is a request by John Hartline for 624 South Montgomery Street to reduce parking counts from 48 to 43. The Board of Adjustments and Appeals is recommending approval.
So moved.
Motion has been made by Alderman Maynard to approve of VA 15-05, request by John Hartline for relief by variance from the parking requirements for residential use for the proposed Sundance townhouses to be located at 624 South Montgomery in an R3 zone as presented. Alderman Maynard, is that your motion?
Yes, sir.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion has been seconded by Alderman Little. Alderman Maynard, do you wish to speak on the merits?
No, sir.
Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Measure clearly passes. Next matter on the agenda is a discussion and consideration of entering into an encroachment agreement to allow the balconies at Whitney Apartments to protrude into the right-of-way. Mr. Sanders.
This request is also by Mr. John Hartline, and it is a request to for a encroachment agreement of balconies to extend into Jernigan Street for the Whitney apartment complex.
Discussion. Alderman Walker.
Read through this. This is currently zone T5, correct?
That is correct, yes, sir.
In the T5 district, you could, if you were to have a gallery or an arcade, that can extend, encroach 100% of the right of way in terms of the sidewalk. But porches are not allowed at all, and he's calling this a balcony that's going to be on the third and fourth floor. What is most concerning to me about this is in that T5 you have a minimum setback of 2 feet and a maximum setback of 15 feet. Why is this applicant not addressing this on the front end and realizing now they have to come back for that encroachment agreement? Because what I've seen from this is, so far, I'm not sure that this developer is doing the things that he said he was going to do originally. Originally, the building was going to be stucco finished. Turns out now it's vinyl siding.
That is correct.
Which just met by one meeting, missing the facade ordinance that we passed that would now not be allowed to be built there. We've also seen, I saw this week they poured concrete for the sidewalks, and I also saw that was required to be ripped out and redone because it wasn't right. So I'm concerned here that we have to constantly be coming back and asking for permission to do something that, if it would have been caught up front and the design would have been allowed to know that there should not be an encroachment on this if they would have met the setback requirement, which they could have easily done on the front end. We wouldn't be back here dealing with this on the back end. I will say this, is that, you know, I'm going to be inclined to vote for this encroachment, because what that building looks like on the corners, you take away those two little balconies that they're going to put up there, it looks even worse. So this is going to at least help make it not be as bad of a building as it currently is. And I am hopeful that as we move forward, even things that fit in the zoning, they are going to have to comply with the code as put in place. When the developer says they're going to do something, we have to hold them to that and make sure that they do that. And I've seen in this case, that is not happening. And that's a little bit unfortunate. With that being said, I'm going to approve this because it's going to help the aesthetic appeal of that building. But it is a little concerning that they had every right within their setback for that building to be pushed 2 more feet off the street, and this isn't become an issue at all. I yield.
Discussion.
Mr. Mayor,
Alderman Vaughn.
are those balconies hanging over the sidewalk or over the street or what?
Yes, yes, it will approach into the public right of way.
Alderman Perkins.
Mr. Attorney, go ahead, gentleman from 7 Michelle.
Go ahead.
Mr. Attorney, straight talk here. What's the liability, if any, here?
No more than a parking meter placed in the right-of-way or any other obstruction in the right-of-way that would be open and obvious to a passerby. The city has full jurisdiction, as you know, over streets and sidewalks, and so the board is clear legally to grant this or not. It would just be like any other premises liability event, in my opinion.
I mean, these are not always on the board, I mean, except for myself. Give us clean, plain, simple talk. And what's the liability, if any, for the city? We know what our jurisdiction, what liability, if any, is the city passes this?
Minimal.
And what is minimal?
Well, I can't guarantee you that the city
No.
won't be sued, but I think the outcome would probably be favorable to the city.
Is there zero liability if the city passes this?
I can't say that.
What, Mr. City Attorney, what's the liability for the city? I mean, in other words, do we have any legal exposure if we approve this?
I don't believe that you do, Vice Mayor.
Well, can you defend this successfully in court if we do?
Vice Mayor, I looked at this encroachment agreement, and it stacks up contractually, and it's the city's call whether it wants to put an impediment on the sidewalk, just like any other impediment.
Mayor, I yield. I'm through talking with him. Thank you.
Further discussion. Alderman Nguyen.
Mr. Sanders,
Yes, ma'am.
I'm offended that he's asking such of us, and I'm not gonna support it. I yield.
Alderman Little.
I'm disappointed to hear that they're going with vinyl siding, and after we passed the facade ordinance, I guess Skirted just missed that.
Yes, they
application
submitted plans
process.
prior to the facade.
I thought these were supposed to be some kind of luxury buildings and gonna be like a big stately looking facility, and apparently it's not. So it seemed like the board has been misled to some degree by the developer. I'm disappointed to hear that. I yield the floor.
Further discussion. Any further discussion? We don't have a motion.
I make the motion to approve.
Motion has been made by Alderman Walker to approve of an encroachment agreement to allow the balconies at the Whitney Apartments to protrude onto the right-of-way of Jargon Street and granting the mayor authorization to execute said agreement as presented. Alderman Walker, is that your motion?
Yes.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion has been seconded by Alderman Maynard. Alderman Walker, you wish to speak on the merits?
No.
Any discussion? Any discussion? Alderman Little.
I'm gonna support it based on Alderman Walker's comments earlier that it's gonna make the building look better. Otherwise, I would not support this, so I yield the floor.
Further discussion? Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of Alderman Walker's motion, please signify by raising your hand. All those opposed, please signify by raising your hand. That is 3 in favor, 3 against. I vote yea to break the tie. The motion passes. The next matter on the agenda is the discussion and consideration of the FP 1515 request by Michael Cracker. Mr. Sanders?
Yes, this is a request by Michael Cracker, at Final Plat 1515 for a 2.10 acre subdivision. On November the 17th, 2015, the Planning and Zoning Commission recommended approval. with the condition that a bond in the amount of 150% of the engineering costs be provided, and the applicant has provided the subject bond.
At that amount? At that 150% amount?
Yes, sir.
Move approval.
Motion has been made by Alderman Maynard to approve of FP 15-15, request by Michael Cracker for plat approval for subdividing the parcel into two parcels located at the northwest corner of Gearard Road and Old West Point Road, parent parcel number 117C-00-036.01 as presented. Alderman Maynard, is that your motion?
Yes, sir.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion's been seconded by Alderman Nguyen. Alderman Maynard, you wish to speak on the merits?
No, sir.
Further discussion? Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Motion clearly passes. Next matter on the agenda is the discussion and consideration of travel by.
So moved.
Motion has been made by Alderman Maynard to approve of travel by Community Development Director Buddy Sanders to the Mississippi Municipal League's Midwinter Conference in Jackson, January 12th through 14th, 2016, with advanced travel granted of $649.32 as presented. Alderman Maynard, is that your motion?
Yes, sir.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion has been seconded by Alderman Vaughn. Alderman Maynard, do you wish to speak on the merits?
No, sir.
Further discussion? Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Alderman Little.
It's on travel.
Alderman Little.
I looked at the agenda for the meeting. Is there anything particular that you're going to be going to this meeting for?
Just represent the city and meet with various governmental agencies and consultants.
You going, the meeting starts at noon on Tuesday and ends about noon on Thursday.
Yes, sir.
Is it 3 nights they're figuring to go down there for?
Yes, sir. I do not believe I will be there the entire time, but I will probably be there at least one night.
Thank you.
Further discussion? Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Saying none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please signify by saying nay.
Nay.
All right, all those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. All those opposed, please signify by raising your hand. So that's 4 in favor with 2 against. Alderman Perkins, I had you in favor.
Yes, sir. May I be heard?
I'm not 100% sure I had you, is why I'm asking. Yeah.
I'll make some comments later. I'm gonna go ahead and vote tonight for this tonight.
Okay, let me do it one more time. All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. All right. All those opposed, please signify by raising your hand. All right, I have it as 4 in favor with 2 against. The next matter on the agenda is the request for, thank you, Mr. Sanders, the request for approval of travel.
Move approval.
Motion has been made by Alderman Vaughn to approve of the travel of Edward Kemp to attend the Mississippi Municipal League's 2016 Midwinter Conference in Jackson, Mississippi, scheduled for January 12th through 14th, 2016, to be held at the Hilton Hotel of Jackson, Mississippi, with advance payment of travel and registration at an estimated cost of $741.45 as presented. Alderman Vaughn, is that your motion?
Yes, sir.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion has been seconded by Alderman Nguyen. Alderman Vaughn, do you wish to speak on the merits?
No, sir.
Discussion. Any discussion? Alderman Perkins.
Mr. Mayor, let me just say something just very briefly. I'm gonna go ahead and support this motion for Mr. Kemp to travel. And this is nothing, toward Mr. Kemp, but hopefully after we approve for this travel here, that we'll start taking a more of a conservative approach to our travel expenditures. And so this term is about almost over. So in the future, I'm going to vote for one more travel request, and that's going to be sent to MML on 2016. I'm going to be taking the floor to speak against any involved traveling in MML after this motion.
Further discussion. Alderman Little.
I would ask the same question to Mr. Kemp. Is there any certain classes or anything that you're going to glean from the engineering standpoint down there?
Yes, so there's some related to community development, but the primary focus is to represent the city and network with state agencies and other municipalities.
Was it your intent to go down there for 3 nights also?
Probably similar to Mr. Sanders, probably very dependent on the schedule. As it gets closer to January, it's somewhat busy time as we're ramping up for the spring. So as my schedule allows, but most likely it'll probably be only one night.
So I know we've got a lot going on in the city to have the engineer and the county development director gone for several days. I also noted there was no supporting documentation in the packet for your travel, and it's about $100 higher with the same trip.
Yes,
So I didn't
sir.
know what was
The mayor and I's assistant put that together, and I'll be honest with you, I did not make the calculation. I apologize for that. I don't know why there's a difference on that, to be honest with you. I just asked her to book it reserve it at a local hotel, and that, I believe the one at the conference was actually sold out.
Yours, yeah, your hotel was cheaper, and but the net result was higher, so that's what I was just
Okay,
curious.
I'll be honest with you, I'm not sure, but I'll check into it.
Further discussion? Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Alderman Nguyen.
I feel compelled to say something tonight. Mr. Sanders as well as Mr. Kent. First of all, let me say this. I thank you for what it is that you do. We clearly understand that in order for us to obtain some of these goodies that these other nice municipalities are getting, their employees are hustling with the people that are in the clique, such as at MDOT. Last year, you, myself, and the CAO went to the Mississippi Department of Transportation while we were down there in Jackson. You know what I learned later? The Columbus people were in the hunt too, and they were over there too. And I'm glad that we have a CAO that has some inside scoop on some information that led us over there. It's about hustling, and you gotta know the right people. And in order to do that, you gotta be able to get out of town and get out of Starkville and get in the game so that our city can get some of the same things that these other municipalities are getting. Oxford, Tupelo, Columbus, we're being left in the dark because we're not hustling enough. It's about hustling. I thank you and Mr. Sanders for being willing to do that. And thank you for your service. I yield the floor, Mr. Mayor.
Further discussion? Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Saying none. All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. All those opposed, please signify by raising your hand. By a vote of 4 in favor with 2 against, this motion passes. The next matter on the agenda is a request for approval of the City of Starkville claims docket.
So moved.
Motion has been made by Alderman Maynard to approve of the City of Starkville claims docket for all departments, including the Starkville Electric Department, as of November 23rd, 2015, for fiscal year ending September 30th, 2016, as presented. Alderman Maynard, is that your motion?
Yes, sir.
Do I hear a second? Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion has been seconded by Alderman Nguyen. Alderman Maynard, you wish to speak on the matter?
No, sir.
Alderman Nguyen.
Let me say this. I always say that it's important that we look over the docket. And Miss City Clerk, pretty soon you'll be receiving an email from me, and I want full disclosure of this because I want the voters of Ward 2 to know that I'm engaged and understand what's going on. I will perhaps be asking you for a copy of the credit card information for last month as well as this month. Because when we get the docket, we only see that we pay the credit card. We don't see the itemized of who is paid to or what has been charged. Mr. Mayor, I yield the floor at this time.
Further discussion? Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Saying none. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please signify by saying nay.
Nay.
All right, I have 4 in favor with 2 against, and I have Perkins and Vaughn against.
Correct.
Motion clearly passes. The next matter on the agenda is the consideration of budget amendments for September 30, 2015.
So moved.
Motion has been made by Alderman Maynard to approve of budget amendments for fiscal year September 30, 2015 as presented. Alderman Maynard, is that your motion?
Yes, sir.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
This motion has been seconded by Alderman Walker. Alderman Maynard, you wish to speak on the merits?
No, sir.
Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Mr. Mayor,
Alderman Perkins.
Madam City Clerk, you have your document available on that budget adjustment. Would you turn over to the line of legal expenses for, say, $60,000 and litigation 23,250? Why is it showing a debit on those 2 columns totaling $83,250?
Under legal expenses, that line item includes, it could be, it's not just the board attorney, it includes the bond and any of the bond documents that were passed this year.
So
They went through legal, I'm sorry.
So in other words, with the debit column, we have exceeded the budget, so you have to get that dollar amount
Yes,
to
sir.
pay for it.
Yes, sir.
So in other words, we owe these lawyers $83,250. Okay, thank you.
Further discussion? Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Saying none. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please signify by saying nay.
Nay.
By a vote of 5 in favor and 1 against, the motion passes. The next matter on the agenda is a request for permission to purchase.
Move approval.
Motion has been made by Alderman Little to approve of the purchase of firefighter turnout gear from NAFECO at a cost of $7,639.80 to replace existing turnout gear which has passed its expiration date as presented. Alderman Little, is that your motion?
Yes, sir.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion has been seconded by Alderman Vaughn. Alderman Little, do you wish to speak on the matter?
No, sir.
Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Motion clearly passes. The next matter on the agenda,
approval.
motion has been made by Alderman Vaughn to approve of granting permission to allow the Fire Chief Charles Yarborough and Battalion Chief David Godan to attend the 2016 Midwinter Chief Conference on January 19th through 21st, 2016 in Ridgeland, Mississippi, with advanced travel not to exceed $1,000 as presented. Alderman Vaughn, is that your motion?
Yes, sir.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion has been seconded by Alderman Maynard. Alderman Vaughn, do you wish to speak on the matter?
No, sir.
Alderman Perkins.
Chief Yarborough, will you come out here just a second, very briefly? I'm sure this is related, but I think out of consistency and fairness to the others, to Mr. Sanders and to the engineer. So this is just very briefly. I take it this is job related. I just want to make sure you get a chance to explain yours too. So this is job related, benefit to your job.
Yes, sir, it is.
Okay.
During this conference, there are grant writing class that we go to, so allow us to get grants that would help us buy equipment for the city. For a lot of work, so.
Okay, and David Godan is probably, he's one of your battalion chiefs,
Yes,
one of
sir.
your 3 battalion chiefs. You feel it's very relevant to
Yes,
very
sir, I think
beneficial.
he's the one gonna be helping with the grant, so yes, sir.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Chief. That's all I want to ask. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Chief, I'm gonna support this because I think from the other two, it seems like there's a clear reason for you to go for that. And what I would say, what would be helpful for me making this decision prior to getting to here, if there was a little bit more in the packet in terms of some supporting documentation for what this event was and really what the goal and the output of that would make that decision a little bit easier for me. And that's compared to the other two, I look at the agenda, it's like, it doesn't seem to be a whole lot on there for even me wanting to go to that thing. Most of those classes we've already got, and so a little bit more supporting documentation makes that an easier decision for me.
Yes, sir.
Alderman Webb.
I'm gonna say this, and I hope that I'm gonna be kind. I'm gonna approach this gingerly. All of us have to be, and I'm not talking to you, so don't pay me any attention. All of us have to be accountable for our travel for the city. If we're gonna question people, and I don't have a problem with anybody questioning anybody, but as an alderman for this city, this is my transcript, and it looks like this. I've gone to MML every year since I've been here, and every alderman on the board, with the exception of one, has attended that conference with me. 2 of them are not novice to the board. They were not new. That's Alderman Vaughn and Alderman Carver. Only one alderman sitting before you tonight out of the 4 new ones that came on the board. That's Alderman Wynn, Alderman Little, Alderman Manger, and Alderman Walker. Only one received CMO certification from MML during the summertime of this year. Only one. Transcript of over 80 hours on here. So I just want to say, if we're going to be accountable, we need to be poster children for being accountability. We need to put ourselves on the poster first before we ask the department heads to do the same thing if we're going to ask them. Again, the transcript will look like this. If you've been going to MML every year, your transcript should look just like this. Mr. Mayor, I yield the floor at this time.
Further discussion. Alderman Walker.
Yeah, I'll be gingerly too. I believe that coming this summer, I know myself, and I'm pretty sure Alderman Maynard and Alderman Little will also have that. The difference is I know myself, I've gone to the summer meeting every year, and I did the mid-year meeting once, but I haven't gone to every single meeting I could possibly go to during that time. So I think to get that basic certification, I think the general idea is that over your first term, you should have accomplished that, not necessarily by the beginning of your second or third year. So yeah, I think it is accountable. I think what's more important is if you go to those meetings, what are you coming back and bringing back to the city? I think that's the important question. When we're sending people out, what are you coming back with? I absolutely agree with Alderman Nguyen that going out and traveling and going to these meetings are very important to our, improving our capacity to be able to help manage and run the city. And I think that's important. But I also think we have to be a little bit cautious and not trying to pick every potential place that we could potentially go to get that credential. But I think it's important for the constituents to know that by the end of this term, I believe that all of the new aldermen will have met that basic CMO requirement. And I think that's something that we should all, as a board, shoot to attain. But I don't know that getting there any quicker makes that any more relevant or more important. I yield.
Further discussion.
One statement, and I'm going to yield the floor. Classes are from 8 to 5, and if you go to class like you should be doing, you should have that in 2 years. 8 to 5. I ain't going to the beach. My significant other is not with me to go shopping. I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm in class. I don't take my significant other with me on city travel. I'm there to take care of business. And when you take care of business and when you come back, that transcript should look like this. This is all from MML. This is not from anywhere else. I'm taking care of business. I don't go to class from 8 until 12, and the rest of the day I'm free. I'm in class. Mr. Mayor, I yield the floor at this time.
All right, and that's going to be the end of discussion about what's, yes. Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Measure clearly passes. Thank you, Chief. The next matter on the agenda is a request for approval of the job description and authorization to advertise to fill the job of engineering associate in the utilities department. Did I hear a motion? All right, motion has been made by Alderman Maynard to approve of the job description and authorization to advertise to fill the job of engineering associate in the utilities department, water wastewater division as presented. Alderman Maynard, is that your motion? Yes. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion has been seconded by Alderman Walker. Alderman Maynard, do you wish to speak on the bill?
No, sir.
Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Motion clearly passes. Next matter on the agenda is a request for approval to hire Mark Simpson to fill the position of maintenance supervisor. Motion has been made by, was it Vaughn or Maynard? Motion has been made by Alderman Vaughn to approve the hire of Mark Simpson to fill the position of maintenance supervisor of Starkville Parks and Recreation as presented. Alderman Maynard, or Alderman Vaughn, is that your motion?
Yes, sir.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion has been seconded by Alderman Maynard. Alderman Vaughn, do you wish to speak on the matter?
I feel like he'll do a good job because he worked for the city for 11 years, Park and Recreation for 11 years, and I feel he'll do a great job for him.
Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Measure clearly passes. The next matter on the agenda is a request for approval to hire. Motion has been made by Alderman Vaughn. Remember, this has been modified to approve of the hire of Darrell Scott Caldwell, Gary E. Wheeler, Charles Jordan, Quentin C. Salisbury, and Stephen Muse to fill the position of police officer in the Starkville Police Department as presented. Alderman Vaughn, is that your motion?
Yes, sir.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion has been seconded by Alderman Nguyen. Alderman Vaughn, do you speak on the matter?
No, sir.
Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Motion clearly passes. The next matter on the agenda is a request for approval to hire Ladarius M. Weatherall to fill the position of police officer. Motion has been made by Alderman Vaughn to hire Ladarius M. Weatherall to fill the position of police officer in the Starkville Police Department as presented. Alderman Vaughn, is that your motion?
Yes, sir.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion has been seconded by Alderman Maynard. Alderman Vaughn, you wish to speak on the matter?
No, sir.
Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. All those opposed, please signify by raising your hand. By a vote of 5 in favor with 1 against, this motion passes. Next matter on the agenda is a presentation from Stephanie Halbert regarding the city accountant and deputy clerk assistant positions. Ms. Halbert.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Board of Aldermen.
Thank you, Ms. Hammond.
At the recess meeting on November the 17th of 2015, I was given the instruction to provide you with the information regarding the city accountant and the deputy clerk accounting assistant's job title as well as job description. That information was placed in your packets as requested, and at this time, I'm open for any question that any one of you might have.
Discussion. Any discussion, questions, or comments from the members of the board? Any discussion? Any discussion?
I've got one question.
All right.
Ms. Howard, the job description for city accountant, that position is still out there, it's just not filled or budgeted at this time, is that correct?
Correct.
So it's just out there, and we've got the deputy, and it was the deputy accountant that, it was the deputy accountant that we advertised for. Okay. That's all my questions, thank you.
Any further questions or comments from the members of the board? Alderman Walker.
I just want to commend you on what's in the packet for doing the research and pulling this together. It was very straightforward, very clear to understand sort of where the history and the timeline of how we got to where we are. So I just wanted to tell you, nice job for doing that in the packet. It was it made moving through and understanding what was happening here much easier. So thank you.
Thank you.
Any further questions or comments?
I would second that, that was, appreciate that, very easy to understand.
Any further questions or comments from the members of the board? Seeing none, thank you, Ms. Albert. The next matter on the agenda is a discussion and consideration to amend the October, motion has been made by Alderman Little to approve the amendment of the October 6, 2015 approval to purchase 2 Ford SUV police interceptors from state contract for the purchase quote of $52,822, amending the purchase quote to $53,044 for the 2 SUV police interceptors. The difference in the quoted price is due to an increase in the listed price. This purchase is being funded from Department of Justice forfeited funds as presented. Alderman Little, is that your motion?
Yes, sir.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion has been seconded by Alderman Nguyen. Alderman Little, do you wish to speak on the merits?
No, sir.
Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Motion clearly passes. Next matter on the agenda is a request for authorization for the police department to submit an application with the Justice Assistant grant in the area of overtime and equipment in the amount of $59,643, which would be 100% reimbursable.
Move approval.
Motion has been made by Alderman Vaughn to authorize the police department to submit an application with the Justice Assistant grant in the area of overtime and equipment in the amount of $59,643, which would be 100% reimbursable as presented. Alderman Vaughn, is that your motion?
Yes, sir.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion has been seconded by Alderman Nguyen. Alderman Vaughn, do you wish to speak on the merits?
No, sir.
Any discussion? Any discussion? Alderman Wall.
Chief, I'm certainly supportive of this, and it says that you'll be using this grant money for the downtown Main Street area and the Cotton District area. And then what I'm just curious about is, what does this grant money mean? Are we talking about more officers? Are we talking about equipment? Because the application's in here in the packet, but it's not filled out. So could you just fill me in a little bit on if we receive this grant and you're going to target those 2 areas? Are we talking about personnel or equipment or what?
We're talking about overtime for current personnel.
Overtime for
To fund that overtime.
Okay, that's what I need to know.
Mayor.
Alderman Nguyen.
I didn't do this during comments. Chief, if you will you tell us about your department's reaccreditation at this time?
Okay. Yes, ma'am. I just returned back from Miami on last week. Received my reaccreditation from the CALEA standards of accreditation. So we were granted reaccreditation.
I yield at this time, thank you.
Thank you.
Congratulations, Chief.
Thank you.
Further discussion? Any further discussion? Do we have a motion yet?
Yes.
Do we have a motion?
Move approval, yes.
Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Motion clearly passes. Next matter on the agenda is the consideration of approving an advertisement or an RFP for consultant services related to specific needs of the Starkville, Tippahall County landfill. Ms. Gandy?
Good evening. The RFP that you have in your packet is to address the needs that we currently have at our rubbish landfill on Rock Hill, Butler Road. The site that we're disposing in now has reached its capacity, and what this RFP will do is allow us to hire a consultant to come in and to tell us exactly what we will need to do to close this existing site and to open another one. It's a lot of intricate details going to go into it because, of course, the state has its regulations and everything set up that we must adhere to. It will also provide surveys and just the basic open and closing procedures. And that's what is not, I'm not asking to approve anything other than the simple advertisement and to come in and to hopefully get a consultant that we can afford to work with, to work to get us through the closing of this existing site and opening of another one.
Discussion. Alderman Mayor.
Just, Ms. Gandy, are we closing a sale?
A sale, right, not the
Opening.
entire, another
Okay.
sale.
Just want to
Right.
make that clear. We're closing,
Not the whole, not the whole landfill, just as, I say site, but it is a sale.
we're closing one sale and opening up another sale within the same site. We still have land capacity
We
out there
have
to
land
expand.
capacity, but we do need to close this sale. DEQ has some concerns. Of course, we've been in this sale for a while. I think they were in this sale before I started here. And so we really need to get a consultant in. We have some, I've inherited some information from previous department heads. So, of course, DEQ wants a current survey. We need to be able to ask to make sure, that we're in line with regulations and stuff. So that's what this RFP is gonna do.
Move approval.
Motion has been made by Alderman Vaughn to approve of an advertisement for an RFP for consultant services related to the specific needs of the Starkville, Tippahall County landfill as presented. Alderman Vaughn, is that your motion?
Yes, sir.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion has been seconded by Alderman Nguyen. Alderman Vaughn, do you wish to speak on the matter?
No, sir.
Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Saying none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Measure clearly passes. Thank you, Ms. Gandy. The next matter on the agenda is a request for authorization for Starkville Utilities to purchase the most current version of Cardmaster System 2.
So moved.
Motion has been made by Alderman Maynard to authorize Starkville Utilities to purchase the most current version of Cardmaster 2 from Petrotech LLC to replace outdated system at a cost of $9,602.50 as presented. Alderman Maynard, is that your motion?
Yes, sir.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion has been seconded by Alderman Little. Alderman Maynard, do you wish to speak on the merits?
No, sir.
Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Measure clearly passes. Next matter on the agenda is a request for authorization for Atwell and Ghent to provide. Motion has been made by Alderman Vaughn to authorize Atwell and Ghent to provide one, development of relay logic and settings and programming of new protective relays and protective relaying scheme, and two, support during commissioning and testing of the new relays at the Northeast Starkville substation as part of the advanced capital project for system upgrade not to exceed $24,770 as presented. Alderman Vaughn, is that your motion?
Yes, sir.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion's been seconded by Alderman Little. Alderman Vaughn, you wish to speak on the merits?
No, sir.
Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Saying none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Motion clearly passes. Next matter on the agenda is a request for,
Move approval.
motion has been made by Alderman Vaughn to approve of the issuance of a notice to proceed to Stidham Construction, the sole source of supply bidder, to install an 8-inch water line on Louisville Street not to exceed $16,000 as presented. Alderman Vaughn, is that your motion?
Yes, sir.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion has been seconded by Alderman Maynard. Alderman Vaughn, do you wish to speak on the matter?
No, sir.
Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Motion clearly passes. That exhausts the open session portion of our agenda. A motion to go into closed session to determine whether motion has been made by Alderman Vaughn to go into closed session to determine whether there is need for an executive session. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion has been seconded by Alderman Nguyen. Alderman Vaughn, do you wish to speak on the matter?
No, sir.
Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying
Can we
aye.
take a quick recess?
All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Motion clearly passes. This time I'll ask the public to vacate the premises so that the board can begin closed session deliberation. And without objection, I'm going to move us into a brief recess. Seeing no objection, we'll move into a brief recess.